The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim is one of the most important games to me personally. It basically brought me back into gaming as a whole. Before Skyrim, I had only really played like Call of Duties and other mainstream sports titles, stuff like that, because honestly, mostly because of bullying and not wanting to be an outcast. A lot of my friends at the time, they only played Call of Duty and such, and I wanted to be a part of their group, and so I would only pick up those, and I didn't really play anything else. That was until 2011 when I made a new friend and their hype and excitement for Skyrim coming out infected me. I was really interested to see why this game was being so hyped up, so excited for, like this was like the next coming of the greatest game of all time. So I ended up just off that recommendation, off of that hype, going to GameStop with my grandma, picking up Skyrim and playing it. And I remember I did not sleep that night. I remember playing it pretty late at night and just going and going and going. And then the next thing I knew, I was sitting there needing to get ready to go to school, or my parents were walking in the room being like, "What are you doing up?" Because it was 6 a.m. and the sun was rising and I had not slept. So suffice to say, I really enjoyed Skyrim, and it's basically brought me into this seat. From that point, I started branching off and playing all sorts of different stuff. I started playing all sorts of different games, and now I think I've got a pretty good sort of history and background with video games under my belt, and it's a special game to me. It's in my top 10 games of all time. I don't think I would be sitting here recording this video without that game getting me back into gaming like I am now, and it's become my most favorite passion, my biggest love in terms of hobbies and stuff like that. And I'm even doing these YouTube videos because I care about video games so much, and a lot of that can be attributed to Skyrim, still my original copy that I played all the way back in 2011. So clearly, Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, very important game to me. Now, Oblivion is a bit of a different story. I did end up getting Oblivion after I played Skyrim during Christmas one year. I think it was the year after or something like that. And I don't know if I maybe was burnt out of Elder Scrolls, if maybe I was expecting something different, but I couldn't really get that deep into it. I've tried to replay Oblivion multiple times, dozens of times. So if you've looked at my playtime, I'm probably in the hundreds of hours because I've just replayed the same beginning segments over and over and over trying to get into the game, but it couldn't ever quite stick. I don't know if it's just because Skyrim has that sort of rugged tundra feel, that sort of grittiness to it. I don't know if it's because the systems of Skyrim are a little bit more modern, whereas Oblivion, you can kind of feel its age. I don't know if it's the way that the characters talk, because, you know, Oblivion has sort of that jank to it where a lot of the characters all sound the same because they hadn't, you know, been able to put all of the voices all on one disc and stuff like that at the time. I don't know how many of the factors led into me not being able to get really deep into Oblivion, but I couldn't. And so with that, despite me playing a bunch of Bethesda games since then, Fallout 3, Fallout 4, Starfield, I still always held Skyrim as the best Elder Scrolls game and the best Bethesda game that I've ever played. But then the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered released, and I was hyped. I mean, the leaks were coming out, people were teasing what it looked like, things like that, and I was super excited because it looked amazing, and I was just excited to get back into a Bethesda world. I love Fallout 3, I love Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, but the releases since then haven't really done it for me. Like, I love New Vegas, but that wasn't really Bethesda, that was Obsidian, so we kind of put that one off to the side. Fallout 4 didn't do it for me. I really like Fallout 3, but 4 just feels like a dumbed down version, so I couldn't really get into that one either. 76 I didn't even try because I wasn't really interested in the whole multiplayer MMO thing, and apparently it was a travesty at launch anyway. And then Starfield. I did end up playing that one all the way through, but it wasn't the same. There was a magic that was lost when Bethesda decided to expand out to nigh infinite planets and doing a bunch of procedurally generated stuff, and I don't think it really worked for me all that well. It was fine, I guess. It's just Skyrim was, and Fallout 3 to a lesser degree, were such special little games that it was unlike anything I had ever played before. Like, these were worlds that I could live in. These are worlds that I could explore, that it didn't matter if I was getting good loot or not. I would search every single barrel, box, chest, clothes drawer, trying to find just a singular piece of gold, even though I had 100,000 pieces already, just because I found it that much fun. And their other games haven't really done it for me, so I was really, really looking forward to this release of Oblivion Remastered, hoping that maybe I can get this last chance for Oblivion to impress me and to give me that same feeling. Because I've always heard that Oblivion, for my hardcore fans that I know, is better than Skyrim. And I just never got that, probably because of nostalgia, because Skyrim's so special to me, but also just because every time I try to play it, I can't really get that far into it. But now that Oblivion Remaster has released, I've put about 37 hours into it, according to Steam's playtime right now. We're going to talk about how I feel about it, because things have certainly changed. Firstly, I want to give credit to Virtuous themselves. They put so much work into this remaster. I mean, obviously, right off the jump, it looks gorgeous. And obviously, there are, performance problems with the game that I also am experiencing. I'm on PC, so thankfully that is not some big major thing, because I can mess with the settings a little bit. I've got like FSR on, I've got the the AI upscaling, the frame generation, so I'm getting pretty good frame rates for the most part. The open world's still a little rough, but I can get there. But I have had my fair share of issues with it. But visually, once you're running smooth, once you're going, it is gorgeous. It is a sight to behold, and it really does, compared to the original, they're kind of different art styles. Unreal 5 is kind of taking that realistic look, but there are plenty of areas where there's super bright colors. Like Oblivion is kind of known for that dreamlike quality, lots of bloom, bright colors and stuff. Super, super fantasy. Like, it looks like when you imagine typical high fantasy sort of like storybook, it looks like this in Oblivion. But in Remaster, it looks a lot more like a modern retake of that without losing all of the color. It doesn't look like Skyrim 2. It looks like Oblivion 2, which I think they did a great job. I'm not upset about the lack of color, because I think there is plenty of color. It's just doesn't look like a PS3 game from 2008. You know what I mean? But the game is gorgeous. There was a lot of work put into it. The level up system is different, and it's way better. You don't have to worry about your, major skills breaking your level up path and stuff like that. It gets all kind of weird and stuff and jank. You don't have to worry about your character being, ruined because of how you set up your character at the beginning. Small details like when you're using a bow, headshots actually matter now, which they didn't before. And even when you're just like swinging a sword and the enemy like kind of moves their body a little bit to the hit, I think do a lot to make combat feel a lot weightier and feel a lot more, impactful. Whereas originally it was really just like you're swinging at air and just you'll see a health bar go down kind of. So I definitely think all those improvements are, just leagues above and have enhanced the experience entirely, and Virtuous deserves so much credit for that. But at the end of the day, at the core, it still plays like Oblivion did back when it first released, right? Magic works the same way. The dungeons work the same way. If you have a guide for Oblivion, any of the guides for Oblivion back in the day will still work here. Some of the bugs are the exact same. There's some new bugs because of Unreal, but a lot of the bugs that are in there in the original are still there today. NPCs act, talk, react the same way. There's some new dialogue here and there, some new re-recordings, but that's kind of just to add some flavor and depth to the world that wasn't there before. Otherwise, they still are the same old Oblivion NPCs that just turn to you like this and talk like this and all have the same voice. And, even back in the day, performance was pretty rough too, so we're just kind of reliving that here. And so I want to make it clear that when I talk about my feelings about Oblivion Remastered, I think it's with the lens that I get it now. Like, it plays so much like the original, but is updated just enough and has been visually changed just enough that despite me being very familiar with the opening tutorial quest, being very familiar with the Imperial City and like the beginnings of some of the guild quests, because I always like start those before I drop the game, it all felt fresh. It all felt new, even though I was like, oh, I know if I go here, I go talk to this person, I'll get this quest. If I go here, I go talk to this person, I get this item. Doing it felt fresh. It felt new. It felt exciting because everything looked new. Everything looked interesting. Everything looked enhanced. And even though it plays so much like the original game, it still plays just differently enough that it feels more modern. It feels more palatable, more tolerable to my tastes than what it was before when I was just playing like an old 2006 or whenever Oblivion came out, like an old game from pre-2010. And I'm impressed. I'm impressed by it. In terms of Oblivion itself as like a core game, I mean, I'm not ready to say, I don't think, that it's better than Skyrim, or at least that I think it's better than Skyrim, because again, Skyrim's just so special to me. It's kind of hard for me to, you know, put another game above it right now, especially when I've only put 37 hours into it roundabout versus Skyrim that I've put hundreds and hundreds. But I will say that it's doing what I wanted it to do, which was not to beat Skyrim, but to give me that same feeling. I feel like I did back in 2011. All I want to do when I get off work is sit down and play Oblivion. All I want to do whenever I go to bed is to go to sleep, wake up, get my stuff done so I can go play Oblivion. Like, I'm thinking about the game. I am talking about the game with friends. I am formulating thoughts. And that's why I'm making this video here, because even though my channel has kind of had some, you know, identity stuff with like retro games and stuff, I felt like this was a crossover enough of like an old game, new game, put it together. And I just wanted to talk about it. I just want to talk about Oblivion, because as much as this game back in 2011 made me stay up all night and play it without even realizing it, and sort of became my life for a few months, I'm starting to feel that pull from Oblivion Remastered. I really am. And I'm gonna be honest, I had heard about the remaster only, you know, I've heard about the leaks for a remaster and stuff like months and months and months ago. Like we've been aware of Oblivion for a long time. There was that Xbox versus FTC lawsuit that had all those leaks come out, and, you know, we saw that Oblivion Remaster or remake was a planned release. Turns out that was true, which also means Fallout 4 is probably gonna be a thing, or Fallout 3 Remaster, but slow the roll. And so I've been kind of preparing for it, and I was going to say, okay, well, if it's a remake, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to try to play the original again, one last hurrah, see if I can get through it, and then I'll play the remake and see what's different and all that stuff. But again, just like always happens, I fall off. I fell off Oblivion, the original. And it's just, it couldn't sink its teeth into me. It couldn't grab its claws around me and pull me in and just keep me there and lock me up and keep me there. It just wasn't, the magic wasn't there for me for some reason. And then I boot up Oblivion Remastered only a few months later. In fact, I can look on my Steam right now and tell you when the last time I played Oblivion was, and it was January. We're on April 30th is the time that I'm recording this video. January 4th was the last time I booted it up. And even with that, it feels like a new game. Like, it still legitimately feels like a brand new experience. And even though only 4 or 5 months ago I had already dropped the game again because it wasn't hitting the right way, now with the remaster, it's hitting the right way. I really think it's those updates and it's those changes. Running around, getting sidetracked, looking at all of the like gorgeous visuals, hearing the music, fighting the creatures, the level up being fixed so I don't have to constantly be thinking about, you know, oh, I should be using this skill here for a while because I need to level that up so I don't mess up my stats. Just being able to play, just being able to go, explore, kill some Daedra, close some Oblivion gates, do the cool quests. It's done such wonders for the experience that it's finally gotten its teeth in me and finally made me feel like, oh, I am back in 2011. I am playing an Elder Scrolls game. I am exploring this massive, beautiful world that I've never seen before. And I'm having a great time. I'm encountering these little side quests that are relevant to the main story, but tell stories about these minor characters that are only a few quests long at most, usually just one quest, but they're just tiny little concepts, right? Like the writing in Oblivion's quests aren't that complex, but they're just interesting, fun little concepts, you know, that when you finish them, you're like, oh, that was fun. Like, this is a cool idea. Like, I like this. So, guys, I gotta say, I think Oblivion Remastered is the real deal. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm going to keep playing it over on SmashJump.com, where I write for them occasionally and run the Smash Jump podcast. I am going to be writing the review, which will go on Open Critic as well. And right now, it's feeling pretty good. I'm going to get a little bit further in the main quest before I fully write up my review, because I feel like that's important. Maybe a few more of the faction quests, because I've unlocked... I know the Fighters Guild's close. I've finished the first part of the Mages Guild, where you have to like go to all of them and then unlock the college. I have the college unlocked now because I wanted to make spells and stuff, which, by the way, Magic and Oblivion, so much better than Skyrim. Like, if we're going to talk about Skyrim versus Oblivion, at least in Magic, Oblivion has it blown out the water. Like, Magic sucks in Skyrim compared to this. Being able to make your own spells, being able to make your, speed increase and stuff so you can blitz, to become the Flash running around. Being able to do all sorts of cool stuff with spells, paralyzing opponents and stuff. Like, it's so cool. Getting access to enchantments that way as well. Being able to make potions with alchemy that are like super powerful if you know the right ingredients. It's working. Like, I am putting so much time into Oblivion Remastered right now because of all these changes, and I can see where people say, like, Oblivion is a better game, because I can see the idea of it's a bit more free, it's a bit more complex, the systems are a little bit more in-depth, right? It's a lot more old school, right? Skyrim likes to streamline a lot of stuff. The enchanting's a lot more streamlined, the magic is ridiculously streamlined, but I think Skyrim has some pros to it too, right? Like, I like the level up system in Skyrim more, I would say. I like unlocking the perks. I think that's a really good system for Skyrim. Unlocking perks is a good way to keep leveling up interesting. I like smithing. I kind of miss smithing. I really did enjoy smithing. I don't know if everybody agrees with that, but personally, I like the idea of making my character build up their own armory and be able to create their own weapons and armor without having to rely on just random drops or hoping that you're at the right level to unlock like glass armor or something and then have to try to go find it or buy it or whatever. Like, you can actually just build up enough skill and make it yourself, which I think is really good. But I will give credit where I think so far, I think Oblivion's side quests are better. I do think that, at least so far. Like, and it might just be because they're newer to me, but I think when I'm running into them, they're just whimsical enough, just interesting enough, just silly enough, just fun enough that I'm captivated by them and I'm interested in them. And they're short too, for the most part. They're usually pretty short, so I'm not, having to do a slog or a chore, except the arena, because I've done the arena like so many times. Like, I still haven't done it in the remastered so far because I'm just like, I don't know if I want to do it again. But I do kind of want the achievement, so we'll see if I end up doing that. But it's just been great. I think Bethesda has lost a lot of their way recently. I think that, a game from 2006 has generated this much hype and excitement in Oblivion, has generated this kind of community that started to spawn around Oblivion. We've got people who've loved Oblivion when they were younger and now are playing it again because of that nostalgia. You've got new people coming in who, were only played Skyrim and are trying Oblivion for the first time with this. You've got people like me who kind of tried to play Oblivion but couldn't really get into it, and Skyrim's kind of their main Elder Scrolls game, and now they're getting back into it with Oblivion Remastered, and it's working. And I think it's proving that a lot of the criticisms of Starfield, which were it's archaic, encumbrance bad, the systems that Bethesda uses, like the way that you talk to NPCs, the way quests work, are archaic and bad and old and should be replaced. I think Oblivion Remastered has kind of proven that wrong, because I think the problem with Starfield, and this won't become a Starfield episode. You guys can let me know if you want to hear my full thoughts on Starfield in the comments, but I think Starfield's problem was that it was too big, too ambitious. I think they lost a lot of what made their game so special, which was Oblivion, right? It was having one world where you're exploring it and you're running into random stuff and you're going off towards this shack over here that has a skoomer dealer, while originally you were supposed to go here and talk to like the count of, you know, Skingrad or whatever, and then all of a sudden you find this orc that's like thinks she's a knight, and so you go and help her with her thing, but then you see an Oblivion gate, so you go in there and you do that, but then all of a sudden there's some young knights that went in there and shouldn't have been in there in the first place, and so you're going to deal with that, and then it's just all like that is what a Bethesda game is for me. It's a packed world with a mix of random crazy stuff happening, like you're just walking towards a city and all of a sudden Mike the Liar is just sprinting past you at full speed and you're like, what the hell's going on? Or you're exploring a, you know, icy forest and then you just see a deer sprinting away while an imperial officer with a bow is like chasing it and killing it, and then he just runs back saying you violated the law. Like, that is peak Bethesda to me, and it's what makes me love their games like Skyrim and Fallout 3, and why I'm loving Oblivion right now, and why I didn't really love Starfield, because it felt empty. It felt like as soon as you left the little hub city in each planet, there was just nothing going on. There was nothing there, and I think they lost a lot of that with that game. I think Fallout 4 leaned way too heavily on the sort of streamlined mainstream audience, tried to dumb things down way too much, and more importantly tried to lean too much into the settlement stuff. Like, I don't need to build a settlement. I don't, especially in Starfield. I don't need to build a settlement on a planet. I want to go explore the world, not like make my own little world here in Sanctuary or whatever. I want to go explore what you've made, Bethesda, what you created. And finally, I feel like in a long time, probably since 2011 or whenever I ended up playing Fallout 3 after Skyrim, since I was in high school, probably, this is the first time I felt this strongly about a Bethesda game. And I've been this deep into a Bethesda game and felt this enamored by it. And I'm really happy about that. So those are my thoughts. I don't think I can say that Oblivion's better than Skyrim yet. Again, I've only put 37 hours into it. I am enamored by it. I am loving it a lot. But there's enough with Skyrim that I love that I would still put Skyrim above it for now. But that opinion is always subject to change. You guys need to let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Have you been playing Oblivion Remastered? If so, I'd love to hear how you're feeling about it. And are you a Skyrim fan like me? Do you think Skyrim's still better, or do you think Oblivion is the better game? Comment down below, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. So this was kind of a rambling video. I didn't want to write a full thing about Oblivion because I'm going to be writing the review, and, you know, my channel's a bit more retro focused, and, you know, highly, like, I like to write scripts for my videos and stuff. So this one's a little different. Go ahead and let me know if you enjoyed this kind of content. I can make more of it, and we'll see. I just really wanted to talk about Oblivion Remastered because I think it's doing something special, and so I felt like I needed an outlet to talk about it, and so I have. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. And make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it, if you enjoyed hearing my thoughts and you'd like to hear more, and subscribe to the channel so you can see all of my future videos. Until then, I'll catch you later. Peace.